My name is Justin Swartland, and I wanted to take a few minutes to share my story. I was like 22 years old, working in corporate sales, selling office equipment. And the company that I was at, I was actually, in 22 years, I had a higher gross sales than any sales rep had ever had in 22 years at that company. I advanced myself within the company and then I moved to larger companies and continued to have great success all the way through 2008. The housing crisis was happening. 2009 we were in full-blown recession, and I thought that I beat the recession. So at the time I was going to a church that preached on tithing as a method to gain wealth. And so that was really my thought process, and I really thought that the amount of success that I had within my job was tied to the amount of money that I was tithing, and I was giving to the church much more than just 10%, because that was my ticket to get wealthy. And so it was December 2010, maybe a week before Christmas, that I found out that my salary was getting cut. At the time, I'd been married for 4 years, and I was married, had a son, and the current wife that I had at the time basically told me, "I'm not going to follow you down this road." And so I was, within a 3-week period of time, faced with losing not just my income, but losing my income and the family that I had at the time. Over the next 6 months to a year, I continued to seek out just different sales jobs. I thought maybe it was just my industry. I worked job after job after job. And so I had to start, picking up, cutting grass for neighbors or for friends, just to be able to put gas in my tank. And so I began cutting grass nights and weekends just so that I could put gas in my tank so that I could go to whatever job I was working at the time. I was making absolutely no money and cutting grass, and I was just mentally and emotionally just beating myself up. I should be in a suit. I should be out talking to a business owner somewhere. Instead, I'm out here having to push a lawnmower just to be able to put gas in my tank. And this whole time I've just been asking myself, where was God at? Why is he not providing for me? I was tithing to the church. I was giving more than 10% of my income. Where was God at? And I had gotten so angry in this conversation that I had with God that I balled up my fist, and I had a dresser in front of me, and I punched the front of my dresser as hard as I could, and it was solid wood. And it was like slow motion. When I pulled my hand back from the dresser, I looked down, and there was a bone sticking straight up out of my hand, a good inch and a half. And as I pulled that hand back and I looked down at my hand being completely broken, it was right then, in that moment, that I realized that God had been providing for me all along. And God was showing me a new direction, but he was providing for me. It was just not the way that I thought that God should provide for me. God was providing for me by pushing a lawnmower, and here I'm pulling my hand back, looking down at my broken hand, and I'm like, well, now because I've gotten so angry, I can't even do what God's been wanting me to do all along. What if I took my customer service skills and my salesmanship skills, and what if I took the gifts that I had and applied them in a lawn business. Over the years, I've grown to a point where I no longer drive a 25-year-old Ford Ranger. I have all commercial grade equipment. I'm managing about 80 properties now. Everything that I had before, financially, I got it all back. I'm not wearing a suit anymore. I'm a little dirty when I come home at the end of the day. But I've gotten all of that back, as well as the fact that I'm able to spend a whole lot more time with my son. What God was trying to teach me was that I don't think he needs my money. You know, I really prided myself and thought that I was, doing so good because I gave above and beyond 10%. I thought that I was doing God a favor, by giving God more than his 10% that he required. When in actuality, God's the one that gave me the talents that I have and the gifts that I have in order for me to have the money that I have, or to have the success that I had. It's not that I have to tithe 10% because 10% is God's money. It's all God's money. It was during that time that two things happened. One, mentally I changed and came to have a more mature understanding of tithing and tithing out of the goodness of my heart. And the other thing that happened during that time was the fact that, I'm doing something that is fulfilling God's purpose for my life, and I'm doing something that is much more rewarding in life.